Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the Ted Show. Super excited to have an old friend back on the show. It's Adam Kurz, and he is here to talk about the truth about failure, the truth about a lot of things. He's an amazing human being, a veteran. He does a lot in our real estate world, and he is just a motivator and inspiring type of person. So welcome back, my friend. It's great to see you. How you doing today?
Thank you, Ted. Thank you. You know, you inspired me, right? I used to have a podcast called the Freedom Achiever Podcast. It still exists, a couple hundred episodes in that. And I decided to do the Adam Kurz Show. Because I said, man, the Ted Show rocks. I like it. You know, it's got a ring to it. I need to put my name in this thing, you know.
You'll never forget the name of the show unless you forget your own name.
Yeah,
that was the original reason for the Ted Show. Like, what am I going to call it? And somebody said, well, you should call it the Ted Show. I go, oh my God, beautiful. I don't have to think about it. But
thanks for having me on. Thanks for bringing me on again. It's very exciting.
Always love having you on the show. If you haven't watched David before or followed him, you can go to his website, which is scrolling across the bottom there, but you can also see him on all social media platforms, and we'll put all of those links below. So, but we want to talk about the truth about failure in a minute, but tell them a little bit about you and your background.
I am born and raised in New York, moved to Miami at late high school years, and finished high school. I really didn't like Miami, so I left to the Marine Corps, right? You know, it makes sense, right? You don't like the city you live in, you join the hardest force in the United States. And so, no, but I tell the story on why I joined the Marine Corps. I just really needed a kick in the butt, and I knew it. I was able, I was dumb enough to be a teenage kid. I was smart enough to recognize that this wasn't my future. It wasn't the path. And so I left the Marine Corps for 9 years, got out of the Marine Corps, came back to Miami. Absolutely love Miami now. It's much different as an adult, right?
Yes.
Been here since, I was in the Marine Corps 95 to 04. So I've been here since 04. And I've built a wonderful real estate career over the last 18 plus years. And a coaching company over the last 10 plus years. So it's been a heck of a ride. I've written my third book, The Truth About Failure, which we're going to talk about today. And man, it's been a blessing. I still run a team down here in South Florida, which is really fun. I love my team. We're a small kind of, sniper squad sort of team. We're not your 30-person, mega team, which is fine with me because I don't have the bandwidth to run a 30-person team and run a coaching company at the same time.
You pour into your team. Well, you pour into everybody.
I do. I love my team. They're like my family. They're welcome at my house anytime. It's just a little bit different, And like I said, I just don't have the bandwidth with the coaching company. We host 2 conferences a year. We move them around the states. So it's like, 1 year we're in Jersey, next year we're in New York, next year we're in, South Florida. And actually next year we're going to do Texas, so it's just, we're constantly, evolving and changing and making things happen.
Well, let's talk about the evolution a little bit. So what was it like to transition out? Did you immediately go from the Marine Corps into real estate?
Oh God, no. I always tell this joke when I'm on stage. So, when I spent 9 years in the Marine Corps as a weapons technician and a shooting instructor, and my job, qualifications when I got out of the military were the Bloods, the Crips, or the police department. So, so it's like, what do you do? Right? Like you go to any corporation and you say, hey, listen, I was in the Marine Corps. I have leadership skills. I have management skills. I have all this great stuff. But my technical skill is weapon systems. I don't know how to sell. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. Like I know how to tell people what to do, and that's not very marketable. And so I got a shot. I did have a couple other jobs that I was very unhappy with. I did try out for the police department. That was a real deal. And I got a shot with a guy named George Waldenberg, owned a company called Corpac Steel Products here in Aventura, Florida. Super nice guy, very humble, great guy. And he looked at me from across the desk. He said, hey, man, I'm going to hire you, not because you have sales skills, because you obviously don't, but you're a United States Marine. I expect you to be on time, do the job, and leave when you're supposed to leave and not cheat me out of anything. And I said, you got a deal like that. I know how to do, And he taught me, him and his brother Edel taught me sales. There was a sales manager there by the name of Vicente. He really poured into me too. And I fell in love with sales, Ted. Sales was my thing now, you know.
Sounds like you found your gift or one of your gifts.
And for the first time in my life, I'm making 6-figure salary. I'm driving a beautiful Cadillac. I'm living in a penthouse apartment in Midtown Miami. Like, I'm happy, you know, like for what happy is. Like, I never lived that life before. You know, I left the Marine Corps earning what, you know, $28,000 a year, some crap like that. Like, now I'm at 6-figure salary. I'm #1 sales guy on the floor, not in comparison to the owners, but on the floor. You know, the owners were animals. They were beasts. I still can't sell at the level that they do. They're just insane. I love it. But, you know, they gave me a shot. And one day, Vicente, who was the sales manager, decided he wanted to retire. And I attempted to apply for the sales manager position. My thought process was, I do so well here with you guys, like I should be a shoo-in for sales manager. Turns out that wasn't the thing. First of all, the owner of the company was looking for a sales manager with sales manager experience, and I didn't have that. I had Marine Corps management experience, but not sales manager experience. I don't know if he was afraid I was going to run out the door, start screaming at everybody, and make people do push-ups when they don't do a deal, you know. But you know, it was more importantly, he said to me, if I take you off the floor, you and I are going to both make significantly less money. And because I would lose all my sales commissions, things of that nature. But I looked at it in a different way. I looked at it as, give me a good salary and bonus me for certain things, and let me teach everybody on the floor what I'm doing. Right. And he didn't see it that way, which is okay. We had a difference. But what ended up happening is I sat down in my cubicle, and I literally sat down. I had a headset, I had a phone, I had 3 screens, you know, my computer, all this stuff. And I just thought to myself, if I stay here, I die here. This is my coffin. And every day that chair and that cubicle became my I used to literally call it my coffin in front of everybody. I mean, you know, go grab coffee, talk to somebody and say, hey man, I'm gonna head back to the coffin, you know? And it became so much so that I made a decision to do real estate full time at that point. Now I was doing it part-time. I was having a little fun, you know, sell a house here, sell a house there. But now I said, man, you know, I got this license. I know sales. Let's go do real estate. And I worked in Aventura, Florida, and I lived in Homestead, Florida, which is about a good hour, 20-minute drive. Could be a little more with traffic. Yeah. And so I started waking up every day at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I would take off from my house and I would be in the gym closest to my job by 5:30. I would work out for an hour. I would change. I'll do all my stuff. And then I would be in the office by 8 a.m., but I have to start till 9. So I would sit in the kitchen, do some real estate stuff. Then I would go to lunch. I would sit in the kitchen because I would take lunch with me and do some real estate stuff. And then I would get off work at 5 p.m. and I would go to the Starbucks at Aventura Mall just down the street. And I would do work there, real estate stuff, lead gen, whatever you want to do, whatever was necessary to get the deals going. And I did that till about 7 p.m. there. I avoided all the traffic. It's a good 2.5 hours. I would sit there. And then if I had showings, I would do it post 7 p.m. So sometime between 7 and 9, I was doing showings. I would get home somewhere around 11 p.m. I would do some work. I would go to sleep at midnight. I would wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Wow. And I did that for as long as necessary. It took me 2 months, and I put away 6 months of my salary, 6 months of a 6-figure salary by selling real estate part-time. And I stopped having the job, and I came into my real estate world.
What was that transition to that? Because when you make that, a lot of people are afraid to make that leap. We have a lot of part-time realtors, part-time people in sales in general. Was it a difficult transition? Had you already prepped yourself? It sounds like you prepared as much as you could. Was it exactly what you thought it was going to be when you were out and about? You were 100% self-sufficient.
No, it's not exactly what you think it's going to be. You know, you don't realize that being a full-time real estate agent means you have your own business. And if you don't pour into your business, then you don't get paid. Right. Yeah. And so it's, you know, the thought process of, I love when people tell me I became a realtor so I can have more time. And I'm like, good luck with that. You know, like, you know, if you're going to be a one house every 2-3 months kind of guy, yeah, you're gonna have plenty of time, you know. But if you actually want to make a living doing this, it's going to be tough to have time. You won't have time, but you will have flexibility. And so I could move things around. So I worked all day long. And I'm not comparable to many people. I will work from 5 a.m. to 2 a.m. and do it again the next day. If I have my head focused on something, I'm going to do it. So I think the transition is hard. It is scary. There's no guaranteed paycheck anymore. Your medical goes away, you know, so security goes away. Like, you know what I mean? You get all these things that you're just kind of robotically inclined to do. You're pulled away from, and now you have to figure it out for yourself. You got to buy medical. You got to buy, you know, you got to invest your own money into a 401k or whatever it is that you want to do. You have to make those decisions. You have to market your company. You have to learn marketing. You have to learn sales. You have to learn psychology. You have to learn everything that goes into this business. And it's a scary thought, Ted. It really is. But going back to what I said before, if it's something you really, really want, and you get high strung focused on it, you can make it happen.
You can. And I feel like people, I could talk about this topic all day long. Part of the issue, and maybe you can come back and we can talk about it, because I do want to get to your book, is that social media, I find it as a friend, but a lot of people who are in our business who are starting out, they see all the pretty pictures and they don't understand all the work and all the time, or they think the pretty pictures, they don't understand why they're not equating to sales. And so they get this false sense of what's really going on in our world, on mortgage or real estate, in our worlds, just because it looks like we're at parties all the time, or we're hosting events all the time, or it looks glamorous. And there's a glamorous side, brother, but it's still work. It's constant, every day, kind of pounding the pavement.
It's what people see is, you know, you've seen the memes before. What people see is the iceberg tip, right? They're seeing the 5% is put on social media. The other 95% is none of your business, right? No one's going to post pictures of themselves on social media crying because, you know, they can't pay their mortgage this month. Nobody's going to post a picture on social media of themselves grinding it out for 3-4 hours on the phone, or sweating like a pig door knocking, or like that's not sexy. Like the picture you see when people are door knocking is in the beginning, like, oh, we're going door knocking, because 5 minutes later they're gonna be drenched, right? Yeah, and it's not as cute anymore, you know. So it's just, you know, I encourage a lot of new agents to stop focusing on that. There's a quote, I don't know who originally said the quote, but I say it all the time. And it says, you know, don't compare your insides to someone else's outside, right? Yes. So meaning what you have going on inside, you cannot compare it to what you see someone else doing from the outside.
So true.
You know?
So true. And I love that. We'll have to have you back on. I'd like to do a panel on that, because I do a lot of trainings, and I know you do, you're a coach, but I do a lot of trainings, and every time somebody comes up and goes, it's just not as glamorous as I thought it would be, Ted. I'm like, well, you know, you got to put in a lot of hard work. You just can't focus on social media. But this is about you and the truth about failure. So talk about being an author, and this is your third book, I think.
It is. Yeah.
And talk about what it's like being an author, how that came about, and then talk about this book, because I love the title of it and I love the whole thought process.
So not to, you know, throw shade on my last two books, but the first book was it was something that I did with Rudy Hernandez, which, you know, was a close personal friend of mine. We did it together as a Q&A. So we were interviewed in a Q&A on how to create the blueprint to success. Yes. And we were both at that time successful in our own right. I own my own brokerage. He still owns his own companies, right? And so we really put it down on paper how to be successful. And that was exciting for me, because someone told me, man, you write a book, it's a calling card. It's the best business card in the world. It's the stickiest business card in the world, right? Like it sits on, like, I can't tell you how long this book has been sitting on my desk or my dresser or everywhere, right? And so these are the things that you're like, okay, cool. Like, I'm going to do this. But then I got inspired. And as I started to ask people how they felt about the blueprint, which was the name of the first book, they loved it. And I said, well, what actionable items have you taken to make a change in your life or business? And few people had an answer for me. And it encouraged me to write a book called Take Action. And so I started to realize that a lot of people want to do, but they don't do. Yes. Right? Or a lot of people say they will do and then never accomplish because they don't do. And so I wrote that book, and it was very much about taking action in your business. Like, look, dude, I know you're thinking this, this, and this, but this is how you go do it. Step by step, right? Like, how do you get to that 5% of glamour? Here's the 95% step process, right? And that book was great. But this book, Ted, I've been writing this book since 2020.
Wow.
I put, it's not a very long read. It's about 147 pages. So, you sit for about 4 or 5 hours, you get through it. And it has my heart, my soul, my issues, the biggest hiccups that have happened in my life. And what I was able to do is just put something together that allowed people to learn from the things that I already went through. And that was a big part of it. But then the other big part was I got very frustrated with the comment of fail forward, or you need to fail to succeed, or things of that nature. I really dislike that comment. And because I think it's counterproductive, right? Like, it's like you're supposed to lose to win. Right. It's like no one turns on Sunday football and says, I hope my team loses today so that they can learn a lesson and win next week. Right. No one does that. But in our lives, we've accepted that. We've accepted failure. And I hate that. It like there's an inferno inside of me that boils up every time I hear somebody say it. And so the biggest premise of the book was that you don't have to fail to succeed. And as you read the book, you realize that the truth about failure is that it's a lie. And so we've spent, a lot of time really just helping people focus on the fact that they're supposed to succeed forward. Yes. And that life happens. That's a given, right? Like, things are going to happen. You're going to have to shut something down, or you're going to lose a system, or someone in your family or a friend is going to pass away, or these things happen because this is life. But it doesn't make you a failure. If you did something wrong and it created a domino effect and a much bigger wrong thing, so what? Yes. If you wake up tomorrow and you keep pushing forward, then you can't fail. And so what I really started to help people understand, that if you go to Google and you say, what's the definition of failure? It's going to say to quit or stop doing something. And so as long as you haven't quit, that's right, it's impossible for you to have failed. And so the thought process of fail forward is nuts to me, because look, I think you remember The Secret. Remember The Secret, right? You put out to the world what you want in abundance. I want money. And then you're supposed to get super specific with it, because if you say you just want money, like, the world doesn't understand that. It doesn't quantify that. So it's going to give you a 67-cent return from your FPL bill that you paid too much on, right? You asked for money, you got money, And so the Secret taught you to get super specific with your desires, your wants, your affirmations, your proclamations to the universe and to God and to the world, right? And then the next thing that became popular was to tell the world that we need to fail in order to succeed. And so the universe doesn't understand that what you're asking for are simple learning opportunities. What you're asking for are hiccups in your life. What you're asking for are moments of what I call moments of insanity, right? And so these things, they happen in order for you to learn. And then if you're super smart, you don't learn that way. You learn by seeing someone else make the mistake and go, yeah, I'm not going to do that, because if I do the same thing he did, I'm going to make the same mistake and I'm going to end up in the same position, right? Sure. And so that was the ideology behind the book, was really to push that agenda and see how strong and how many people I can get this book in front of so that they can stop saying the words fail forward.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that kind of thinking goes completely against any kind of secret Bible affirmation. When you are speaking the word fail into life, then how can you not fail? I always found, I'm so glad you brought that, because I always found that so counterintuitive to me. It made no sense to me. And just like you said about the football analogy is perfect. Like, oh yeah, I want to lose so I can win. I mean, it just,
it doesn't make sense. Like, all right, so
negative.
Page one of the book, where you write a quote, you say something, page one of the book says, the Marine Corps motto is semper fidelis, which means always faithful, right?
Yes.
If the Marine Corps motto was fail forward, how safe would you feel?
Right. I mean, that's brilliant. It's true. And I just, because we speak, it's our words are so powerful on our brain and the universe and all of that. And so to use that fail part, I'm so glad you brought that up. So the book then talks about your challenges so that people can learn from your challenges.
And we call them the hiccups. I give all my hiccups in the book.
I love that.
And allow people the opportunity to see that, you know, they see me on social media, they're seeing the 5%, right? The iceberg tip. I gave them the other 95%. I gave them all the hiccups that I've been through, and not all, like that would be a much bigger book, but you know, a lot of the major hiccups that I've been through in my life so that they could see they're not alone, and the things happening in their lives may not be as bad as they think it is.
That's the power of that vulnerability, that sharing. That's what we do on the show all the time. I talk about all the shit that I've been through and stuff I've dealt with and challenges I've had. And I try to encourage other people to do it because there's a connection there. There's a power in being able to talk about that. There's so many people, back to social media, that just post all of the positive, and you know, their lives are shit.
Yeah.
And it's a fascinating dichotomy to me, but I love the concept of the book and you sharing, because that impacts people. That's a power. They don't feel alone, like you said. They feel like there is somebody else who has gone through or is going through something that they've experienced. And wow, I'm not alone in the world anymore, because I now see that David went through that, and here's the challenge he had, and here's how maybe he overcame it. Look where he's at now. And there's just so much power in that book. And you also, that made a big bestseller list.
Yeah, it made, we were Amazon #1 for new release for a little bit, you know, trying to push it back up there and get it back up there.
So I want to have you back on the show, because I would love to talk more about some of the things in the book specifically. And but until then, I want people to go out and buy your book. I want people to get your book. So tell them the best way that they can find out more about you, how they can buy the book, learn about what you're doing in real estate and coaching. What are the best ways for them to reach you?
So what I'll do is I'll give you, look, my website is scrolling on the bottom, davidadamkurz.com. That's more of a resume website, lets you know who I am and what I'm involved in. But if you go to everythingdavidkurz.com, everythingdavidkurz.com, that'll lead you right to my link tree. And in the link tree, there'll be clicks to everything, where to buy the book, nice. You know, how to join our free coaching. We do free trainings every single week. You know, so many different things you can get involved. When I'm hosting a conference, of course, tickets will be in there, you know, just things like that. A lot of fun, but everythingdavidkurz.com.
Everythingdavidkurz.com. Y'all go get the book, reach out to David, ask him questions. He's just as much an open book in person.
And I'll tell you what, when they go to everythingdavidkurz.com, there'll be a link in there for the truth about failure, and it's going to lead them to a bonus website. And I'll just tell you guys what the bonus is. The book is $19.95 on Amazon. And we have a training associated to the book that we charge $4.95 for, right? However, if you buy 10 books, which is less than $200, and you email us proof of the purchase, we'll give you access to the training for free.
Nice.
So you're getting 10 books, you get that training for free, you get a free disc profile and analysis, and you get to join our group 5-day training in January. For free, everything for free. For $200, you get 10 books, and you get to bless 9 people with a copy of the book.
Yeah, that's cool. Always doing amazing things. I love having you on the show.
Thanks, man. I love being on the show with you. So
blessing. You are such a blessing. Y'all go to everythingdavidkurz.com. Check it out. Get the 10 books. Get that $4.95 class. I think that's amazing. Yeah. But you know, everybody struggles in a different way. Take a look at what David went through. And just thanks for sharing your heart and your soul with all of us, David. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Ted. Always do.
Right. Always, always. All right. We'll see you guys soon. Everythingdavidkurz.com. Please check it out. Get his book. You're going to love it. I'll see you guys soon. Bye, everybody.